end of episode 6. What are our thoughts, everybody? I feel like I made a lot of good points while I was watching them, and I seem to have forgotten them. Oh, really drawing a blank. I guess that sums up the episode. I would say, the factory reset thing was pretty hilarious. Like, they should have done that with C-3PO, just a simple, hold power on and, the volume button and just, all right, you reset, all good, 3PO. 3PO. Human cyborg relations. The Sith, obviously he wasn't a Jedi. He had some sort of a Sith master, I guess. Curious to find out who that is. There's really only one option. It could be Venomous. It could be Tenebrous. It could be Plagueis if they want to bring him into the mix. But he's not alive yet, but we know with what they did with Ki-Adi-Mundi, it doesn't really matter. It's just a guessing game, essentially. They're just... The excitement around the show is, like, wondering... Because now these characters, twins, have switched. It's essentially just, like, Parent Trap. The day it's just a Star Wars Parent Trap. So he's got a Sith master. She probably is going to use all aspects of the Force, I would imagine, now that she's donned the helmet. Even more Jedi now know that someone has killed Jedi, so that's even more of a mistake. And then even if they die, it's like, what was this all for? So let's say they get killed. Let's say all the Jedi get killed. Okay, well, now we have a bunch of Jedi that were supposed to be extreme, loyalists, Jedi Masters, and they hid so much information from the Jedi High Council. Then, of course, there's the aspect of, we have 8 Jedi that have died all pretty much within the same few minutes, and Yoda, no other Jedi felt a single thing. That is also interesting to think about. 62% with a 0 to 4, 25 for a 5 to 6, and a 9% say 7 to 8, and 4% only for a 9 to 10. Okay, interesting. For the people that give it a 7 to 8 or a 9 to 10, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Like, what are your reasons for the show? I'm sure you've seen my sentiments as to the things that I don't like about it. What would you say to combat that? What am I rating it? I rate this episode probably, I know a lot of you will scoff at this, and I'm sorry, but not really. I give it a 0. Yeah, I just wasn't immersed in any moment. I thought some of the comical moments just took me out of the whatever immersion I was in, which wasn't much. I just think a lot of the characters make very stupid decisions. I don't think any of them make any sound decisions whatsoever. I think the whole idea of hiding this from the council is just ludicrous. Keeping it hush-hush. I mean, God bless Leslie Headland, man, but you know what, dude? And I say that because I don't wish any single person bad or anything, but I believe that I don't think she was the right person for this job. I really don't. And the fact that she had Pablo sign off on bringing Ki-Adi-Mundi into the mix, I mean, that's, how do you sign that off?
You haven't seen in live action. You have to understand that the Jedi are not the Jedi that they are in the prequels. They're not the Jedi that they are, pre and post Battle of Yavin. Like, they're in a different space where
pre and post Battle of Yavin, the Jedi. You mean the one Jedi, Luke? He wasn't even really a Jedi.
We're doing the right thing. This is how we've always done it, and that's the right.
But that's how they were in prequels. They probably had the highest level of hubris in the prequels, and that's what led to their downfall. I mean, they sent Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to fight Darth Maul. They didn't even send like 10 of them.
Of course, where they see children going to the Jedi as a good thing. I don't know. To me, it was important that the audience
It really depends on the parents. Like Count Dooku's dad, for example, who was the king of Serrano. He thought Dooku was a freak. That whole book, Dooku Jedi Lost, which is canon, like depicted Dooku as some sort of mutant, like essentially X-Men. Like they literally viewed him as some sort of freak, and he just wanted to get rid of him.
Out of a horrible situation so that he can become a Jedi. So it's a positive coded transition to, well, maybe that was a really positive situation, but perhaps there were other ones that were not. And did the Jedi learn from that? And when they did learn from that, is that why when Anakin shows up, they're like, he's too old to train? Like, we can't.
So that actually was her thought process. That actually was her actual thought process, was to create and interject this story so that by the time Anakin shows up, the reason they don't want to train him is because some fucking witches created a...
Just get ready, because the Jedi are gonna take some L's, and people...
So essentially, she admits there that the Jedi know that it was a failure by training a child that was slightly older, which means that they know why it failed. They're not just going to be like, oh, it failed. Why did it fail? Because one of the sisters was evil and killing Jedi, and there was attachment. And then the other one left because there was...
and especially Jedi who have experienced, interactions with Sith on this show are going to die.
Ah, so he is a Sith. He's a Sith. Okay.
Because we flipped mentors.
Because May is with Master Soul.
For the Chosen One. Why the Chosen One? Why there was resistance to train Anakin Skywalker was because of the witches that created a Force-sensitive child. which one of them was conceived in the Zabrak, but the children came out with no horns, no sort of Zabrak features whatsoever, through the Force, which was supposed to be like a one in a never situation, which was only Anakin Skywalker. That's why it made him special.
Hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. I think it works for, these narrative reasons. But you let me know. I know that in Legends it's this, and I know that in canon it's this, but I'm not totally up to date in terms of how you guys feel about it as a studio. So I don't know what went on with Chiarimundi. I heard there was some drama.
It's the dumbest thing ever. It's about a birthday. But I was like,
It's not about a birthday. And it's not dumb. See, these are the kind of people that are running the narrative about what is dumb and what isn't dumb about Star Wars. I bet you she doesn't even really watch fucking Star Wars. And if she does, to say that something is dumb because the majority of the fandom thinks a certain way really just tells a lot about yourself.
Like, it's not
Is it really?
Yeah. But I was like, it's not deemed canon anymore. And I like looked that up and I was like, yeah, because it was like in a card and all this stuff. And I was like, listen, I know Leslie is like me.
Oh, okay. No, she's got Grogu and BB-8 in the background. She's definitely a Star Wars fan, 100%.
Twins are always a theme in Star Wars, which I do think is very cool that the show is like, yep, it's everywhere. Twins are just in Star Wars. When you guys were orchestrating May and Osha and
Luke and Leia, that was it.
Exactly.
I mean, you want to go Legends? Yeah, okay, sure.
Pablo is always the person that I go to and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. I think it works for, these narrative reasons.
So Pablo was the one that signed off on Chiarimundi. Nice. Makes a lot of sense. It's like a lot of these people want to say, oh, we're just mad about a birthday. That's one thing, I would say the main issue is that you have literally the guy that says the Sith haven't shown up in 1,000 years, now finding out that there are dead Jedi. He just doesn't tell anybody? I don't know. Maybe in the next 2 episodes, we're going to see the Jedi Council know about it, which would break. It's either way it goes, it breaks the story. It's very interesting, these people that like to constantly combat the fact that it doesn't break the story. Well, how does it not break the story? Because you have the guy that literally said the Jedi haven't existed in 1,000 years, finding out that the Jedi are now dead 80 years before he says this, when it was 1,000 years of peace where no Jedi had died. Then if you want him to tell the Jedi Council, well, then now the Jedi Council know, which completely even more publicly refutes his statement, the Sith haven't returned in 1,000 years. This guy, Kimir, says that, Leslie Headland said that he's a Sith in her interview just that we watched a few minutes ago before the show. And then Kimir basically alludes to the fact that he did not have a Jedi Master. He had a Sith or a Knight of Ren or whatever they want to put into the story. I think the whole thing was just forced, no pun intended. I think they wanted to create something and they ended up going a route that really just breaks a lot of the canon and breaks a lot of the lore that George Lucas made for episode 1, 2, and 3. It's just weird to me. You have a story that's already established and you have these characters and you're putting in the very characters that should not be put. It's like, why would you choose Chiarimundi? What is the reason? If he hides it, he's still corroborating with this hidden thing of the Jedi being dead. If he tells the council, then it breaks even more of what he said to Qui-Gon because the entire council's in on it. So I don't know, bro. And I remember when Leslie Headland announced that she wanted to make this show, I was really gunning for it, man. I was talking really positively about it on YouTube. I was really expressing my opinions. Oh, dude, I think this is going to be great. I'm really excited for it. In live streams, people would ask, which show are you most excited for? I'd say The Acolyte. Because she said that she wants to really focus on the Sith. We haven't gotten any of that. We haven't focused on any Sith. We're going to get them in the next 2 episodes, the last 2 episodes. Nah, bro. Come on. I think the writing for the show was really bad. I think none of it even makes sense for Star Wars, let alone an actual show. You have a character that's constantly wishy-washy. It's like she's got split personality or something. And if you've ever met someone with split personality or lived with them, it's not their fault, but it's extremely difficult to be around someone like that. And I feel for her sister, man. I feel for Osha because it's like 1 minute she's fighting for her, the next minute she's abandoning her, then the next minute she's hating her and then wants to kill her. And just cleaning house would be okay, but we still leaves Mundi, so still whack AF. Kind of feel dumb for expecting better than this shit. Yeah, dude, the only saving grace of this show, the only thing that could make a aspect of it kind of cool is if Plagueis or Tenebris shows up and just dices this Sith, just freaking kills him. That would be all right, but still, it doesn't excuse the fact that he has now revealed himself to the Jedi. He's killed Jedi. Chiarimundi now knows about Jedi dying. Whether he knows it's a Sith or not, they know that a Jedi has turned rogue, trained a Jedi, trained a Force user, trained the sister of a former Jedi at the Jedi Temple, a classmate, who is killing Jedi. So then we know that Kimir is wanting the rule of 2. He says, she says, well, what was your purpose for this? He says, the power of 2. Well, that's the rule of two. So he is a descendant. He is a wannabe of Bane. And Bane got that idea and that information from a holocron from Revan. Really, it's just so surprising to me that they would actually introduce the Sith into a time that's, and it's not even 500 years before the Phantom Menace. We could say, okay, Ki-Adi-Mundi wasn't around. Maybe this got hushed up somehow. And that would even be like a big if. This is 80 freaking years before the Phantom Menace. What the hell? And anybody who wants to argue this, I will gladly bring you on the channel and I will argue this with you. And I don't see any points that I make that aren't substantial points, how this is breaking lore and breaking canon. But call us haters and grifters and ists and phobes, and you know, that's how it goes, right? Why do you think they use the Kylo Ren theme in episode 5? Well, he's probably a Knight of Ren. I don't know. There isn't too much, really. But the fact is that it was established that he was a certain age and he wasn't supposed to be alive. You know, interjecting him into this character. And then, you know, what Leslie said about how when it came time to Anakin and the Jedi not wanting to train him, it's solely because they felt they made a mistake with Osha. That is the reason why they don't want to train Jedi from a somewhat older age, because of their experience 80 years ago with these witches who created Force-sensitive children out of the Force, 2 of them, and one of them didn't work out. Interjecting her whole story into episode 1. It's freaking crazy, dude. There are ways the show could be cool, but the lore breaking is mainly why it is awful, which means even the cool stuff makes it impossible to like. Yeah, that's the problem. So his old master gave him a badass scar while kicking him to the curb from Upgrade. More a Tenebris vibe or Plagueis vibe? Both, really. So the thing with the Plagueis novel is that there were 7 other acolytes in the galaxy that he was going to potentially take under his wing, and then he chose Palpatine. So the issue is, you know, he eventually goes and like kills all of them off. But never were there supposed to be Jedi coming across a red lightsaber. Ever. That was the rule of 2. That was, you have to hide in the shadows until you're ready. And if he's got just one, I don't know what people are going to say because he had no choice because she was going to reveal him to the Jedi. It's also convoluted, man. I feel bad that the only sense of belonging you get in your life is from your compulsion to trash Star Wars to your impressionable internet followers. You call yourself a fan. Yikes. Well, thanks for the $10. Appreciate it. No, I enjoy preaching real Star Wars and talking about the lore and what George Lucas built over the last 40 to 50 years. And so when a show that costs more than Revenge of the Sith comes in and tries to break that lore, I feel like it's my right to speak my mind. The sentiment of saying I have impressionable internet followers really just shows that you think people are stupid and that you think that 3.3 million subscribers are just all dumb and just impressionable people. But everyone else who subscribes to other people are extremely intelligent and smart and wealth. No, that's so ridiculous, dude. Bro, what was that ending smash cut? I don't know what that was. So in Return of the Jedi, there was a scene that was supposed to be there. George decided against it, where Luke takes Vader's helmet, puts it on after he dies, and says, "Now I am Vader." Which this kind of reminded me of that. I feel like you're being unfair. Going into these episodes hating already. I don't do that. Where do you get that impression? For example, Yoda didn't sense Mace Windu, Saesee Tin, Agen Kolar, and Kit Fisto dying until Order 66 actually happened. That's fair. But how do you know he didn't? Maybe it just wasn't cut in at that time. New theory, Mundi never got to save the Wookiee in Revenge of the Sith, so he traveled back in time to World Between Worlds to screw the Jedi over. By the way, please do a Stargrift like y'all said you would. Yeah, we'll do that in 2 weeks. We'll all meet for Stargrift and talk about it. Theory, maybe the planet they were on in the Outer Rim is somehow preventing the Jedi to sense what is going on. Only way I can make sense of it. Possible, like Dagobah. They want to say that, they want to interject that. One way to not break lore is Khmer to be a dark Jedi. Like one of those people. It makes no difference. There's a guy with 5th lightsaber. Oh, he's a dark Jedi with a red lightsaber killing Jedi? Oh, no, that doesn't count. Don't worry about that. Did you know that in the beginning there were no Sith? It was Jedi versus Dark Jedi. And then the Sith were actually the Sithari. They were like these, they didn't look like humans. They were like, they were a species. And then eventually the Dark Jedi and the Sith, and then there's a whole story there. But it started with Dark Jedi. It was just Jedi that went to the dark side. Ahsoka sensed Anakin dying, though. That's also true. There's a lot to say, like, for and against it. So it's like, you know, someone wants to say that, oh, Yoda didn't sense Mace Windu. It's like, well, how do you know that? And then also Ahsoka sensed Anakin dying, which is one person. So it's like, you know, there's arguments on both sides. How do Yoda and Mace know about the Rule of Two? The Jedi Temple has access to some of the oldest holocrons. Is Yoda not able to sense the dead Jedi because there is no change in the Force in power? There was a change in power of the Force during Order 66. Yeah, but as we got reminded here, he also sensed a change in the Force when Anakin was knighted as Darth Vader. I used to get really excited for their shows that they would release. Now I'm just kind of like, okay, what are they going to screw up now? And I don't want to be in that state. It sucks. Completely agree on your thoughts about the other side of the community. It honestly hurts seeing how polarized we've become. We are a broken family. Well, I think it's become more of like a political thing. Have you guys not noticed this? It's more of like if you're liberal, then you have to eat up and suck up and swallow every freaking Star Wars project that Disney makes. And if you don't, then you're a hater, you're a grifter, a conservative, you're this and that. When I'm here to say, like, that's simply not true. Like, you just have to look at the lore of the story of Star Wars, of the first 6 movies. Then go outside of that if you want. Go to the books and stuff. And what Disney is supposed to do is to adapt new stories that build upon what was created before it. Not to interject bullshit that they don't understand, interject characters and stories into something where it doesn't make sense in the timeline and disrupts the overall flow, synergy of Star Wars. That is not what Disney should be doing. They should be really conscious and proactive to hire the right kinds of people. You know, like for an assembly line, for example, you don't just have like, you'll get one person, let's say, that will quality inspect something before it goes out. I would say, let's get 2 people, let's get 3 people, let's get 4 people. That goes through like a chain of command. Personally speaking, for my sabers, we have 2 people that, but when everything is all done, so I guess this would be the 3rd person. Everything is all done, everything is put together, everything is installed, all that, put in the boxes. You have 2 people that come in every single order now that quality inspects every single saber. So we have one person that goes through the whole batch of orders for the day. Then the person behind him goes through and inspects it again, just to ensure that things don't go wrong. I feel like with Star Wars, why not have that with the stories? You need to be hiring first the right person. Then you need to be having several different people go through what they want to do with the story. You know, there's like a fact check. So like if one person approves something, then someone higher up has to be like, no, this doesn't make sense because of this and this. So go back to the drawing board. Let's say that second person approves it. The third person higher up, let's say it's Dave, he's like, no, this can't happen because of this, and this. Go back to the drawing board. And they fine tune and they tweak. And then you'll never get anybody saying anything because it all makes sense. So simple, man. We'll see what they do in these next 2 episodes. We've got 2 weeks left. I'm wondering where they're going to go with it. Then we'll really be able to decipher and break down everything. Love you guys. Catch you in a little bit.